Kenny Rogers sings these wise words in a Geico commercial. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. I didn't have a horror story childhood, but I didn't have it easy either. I'll be sharing how I learned how to handle any situation that I'm given, hence the phrase, play the cards you're dealt. My parents have been together since I was 2, so about 20 years, married for almost 18. They didn't have a perfect relationship. There was plenty of arguing and fighting and a few separations. They tried to do as little arguing as possible in front of my siblings. They would argue in their room with the door closed, as well as outside, but that didn't mean we didn't hear it. I always hear almost every word that was said during their arguments. I even witnessed some of their fights, but I didn't act out. Even though my parents argued and fought in front of my younger siblings and myself, I never acted out. You would never known that I had parents that argued a lot unless I made it known. I knew how to play those cards. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Well, how about I tell you about the times when my family had close to nothing, but still managed to make something happen. My parents had 6 kids. That's not counting my step-siblings. So it's obvious that money was tight sometimes, but my family made a way. There were times when there was very little food in the kitchen, rent was due, as well as utility bills. I was afraid that we would be hungry and in the dark, or even worse, homeless. As the eldest sibling, I scraped up everything edible in my kitchen and was able to create an amazing meal that lasted at least 3 days. There were times when I even took money that I received as a gift to help support my family. My parents didn't always like me to spend my money on things that they felt were not my responsibility, but I seen my family struggling, and I just had to do something. I had cards, and I knew how to properly play them and win. You may be saying that this is something that anyone would do for their family, but I felt like a superhero. And if this isn't enough, let me tell you about the time when I felt like I was given the worst hand. It's my senior year in high school, and I had to make the biggest decision of what school I wanted to go to. I already made it known that I had a big family that didn't have a lot of money. I had applied and gotten into several of my dream schools like FAMU, FIU, FAU, but none of them were close to home. I got money in financial aid and scholarships to cover my tuition, but when it came to room and board, I was on my own. I was not one of those kids that worked while I was in high school, so the fees for room and board, as well as getting supplies for my dorm in order to survive, would rest on the shoulders of my parents. So I made the executive decision to fold my cards and walk away, at least until I was able to pay for most of it on my own. I chose to attend Broward College, where instead my parents only had to pay a $30 application fee. If I have to be honest, it was like the most heartbreaking decision to not be able to go to my dream school. But I think that folding that hand and walking away was the best decision for my family. At the end of the day, my life taught me how to play cards, not literally, but figuratively, much like Kenny Rogers' song. I knew when it was the right time to hold my cards, when it was the right time to fold my cards, and when it was time for me to walk away or run.